Your head's down over a client 2 hours into a full set, and your phone is buzzing with people trying to book, reschedule, and ask about weekend openings. You can't stop mid-lash to answer, and neither can your team. That's where Gloss Genius comes in, handling scheduling, payments, and admin automatically, so your books stay full and your business keeps growing while everyone's hands stay busy. Want to see why 120,000 beauty and wellness businesses run on Gloss Genius? Head to glossgenius.com and use code LashBiz for 50% off your first 2 months of a premium plan. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to Lash Biz Babes, the podcast for solo beauty business owners who want to build a full clientele and create a business and life that they truly love. My name is Erica. I'm your host. I'm a lash artist turned beauty business coach, lash educator, and social media manager for salons and beauty businesses. I'm so happy that you're here. Let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Welcome back to this week's episode of Lash Biz Babes. I'm so excited to have a guest episode for you this week. And I have Val from Val the Lash Gal on Instagram. She owns the Dollhouse for the last 3.5 years, and she's trained and licensed 44 students to date with her board-accredited academy. This year, she opened up her town's first lash supply, and when she's not working, she really likes going to the movies and scrapbooking. She's very passionate about the lash industry because of how she's witnessed it help her create a beautiful life for herself, and her mission is to help others do the same. And so I'm really excited to have her on. I've been following her on Instagram for quite a while, and I just love everything that she does and how successful that she is. So Val, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro too. I'm really happy to be here. This is my first podcast.
I'm so excited. I'm like honored to have you on as your first podcast.
hmm
So just to get started, can you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and more specifically, how you got started in the lash industry?
Yeah. My name is Valerie Ochoa. It's Val the Lash Gal on Instagram. So most people will just call me Val, and that's fine. I'm based in Casa Grande, Arizona. That's where I was born and raised. And there I have my salon suites, the Dollhouse Salon Suites. I have the Dollhouse Academy. That's where I license students to do lashes legally in Arizona. And then I just opened the Lash Supply. It's a little mini lash supply in my town. And yes, I started in 2019. I trained through my esthetician school. I was 19 years old at the time, and I didn't believe how hard lashing was when I took my training. I kind of just looked at it as like a resume builder when my school offered an extra add-on to do a training. I was like, okay, well, if a spa wants to hire me, like I'm sure it'll look good that I did that training, so I'll do it. It was $800, and that was like every penny to my name when I was 19 years old. That was a lot of money. So when I took it and lashing was so hard, I was like, oh my gosh, I just lost like my whole life savings and I'm never gonna learn this. So I really, really wanted to figure it out. Honestly, just because like $800 was just too much to spend to not figure it out for me at the time. So right after school, I wanted to work at a strictly lash salon. Just I told myself just give it at least a year and then you can go do facials or whatever you want. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't like waste the training that I had got. And then, of course, I think as most people find out, once you get the muscle memory down and it's not so hard anymore, it's actually really, really fun. So, working at that lash salon in Scottsdale, I started to really like it. So, I live in Casa Grande, which is an hour from Scottsdale. So, I ended up just deciding to cut the hour drive and work in my hometown. And that's how I started opening my business.
I love that. I can relate to so much of it with being 19 years old and like spending all your money doing the lash training. And yeah, that's like a scary spot to be in. But like, look where, like, what you've created out of that $800 investment now. Like, I'm sure
hmm
I mean, I would assume you're glad you stuck with it at this point.
Yeah, I'm very glad, and also, like, lash trainings aren't $800 anymore, so I'm also like, "Man, you had it good too, and you thought that was a lot."
Yeah, yeah. I remember in school when I was in esthetician school, one of my friends was I don't know if she was, like, friends with, Kim, like, the owner of Borboleta, but they were, like, offering us, like, $600 volume lash courses for, like, our class of,
Mhm, mhm.
like, our aesthetics class, and at the time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so much money," and now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I should have taken that class," like.
Yeah, so kudos to anybody now who's making those big investments too.
Yeah, well, and then in the long term, honestly, it pays off too because not only is it, I mean, it is a bigger investment, but you also can charge, I feel like you can charge more for lashes at this point.
True. Yeah.
So it balances itself out in the end, I think.
Mhm.
But with that, you've built multiple things in your career. You have your services, your trainings, your lash supply store now. So what did that growth journey actually look like behind the scenes as a solo artist? Because like when you're by yourself, I feel like when you're going into these new ventures, it can be kind of nerve-wracking. So what did that look like for you behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's always been very nerve-wracking. So for me, it started off a lot with like obsession. So once I realized I got the muscle memory down and I realized how much I really like it actually, I used to like post on Instagram like little lash blogs that are privated now, but they're pretty cute. I would just write to my followers, like my followers from high school, things I was learning about lashing. And also the information's pretty outdated, so I don't even think it applies to the products nowadays. But I was just very obsessed. So I just wanted to like tell all my friends about this cool thing I was working on. So the account that is Val the Lash Gal is my account that I've had since middle school actually. So I had a lot of just like my friends from school
Mhm.
on there. So anyways, I was obsessed. So I heard about this thing called the Lash Conference and I was like, that sounds like just multiple days talking about lashes. I want to go to that. It was my first time booking a plane trip by myself, first time booking a hotel, and I just went. I asked my parents like, how do I do this? I want to go to California, and they helped me figure it out. So I went to the Lash conference, and I was like blown away. I was just like, oh my gosh, these people have suits. I've never owned a suit. Um, and I couldn't believe that there were people that just wanted to help other people become successful. I wouldn't say for free because I paid for the ticket, but just me showing up and being like sitting quietly in the back, someone was actually with who owned their own pantsuit was gonna wanting to help me build a business, and that's kind of where I got a lot of ideas and started seeing the possibilities of even how much further lashing could go. So I got really inspired when I went to that first conference, and I really don't I mean, I literally just thought like, "I wanna go talk about lashes for a few days." That was my whole drive of going to this conference. I saw it on an Instagram ad. So
Mhm.
I'm really grateful that I went, and I kind of credit it to, like, divine intervention that I went to that first conference, and then after that, you're at the conference and you hear an ad for the next conference and, like, book your ticket, or you see people also throwing small events, and then I started traveling to, like, the smaller events, like the Lash Bashes, which I think just started popping up, and started listening to all the podcasts and just
Mhm.
more obsessed and obsessed and obsessed. So that I mean, that obsessive personality has really benefited me in this realm, and that's how I got here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's really cool because you pulled a lot of that like inspiration and motivation from like building that lash community around you, like going to events and meeting other
Mhm.
people. And I think that's one of like definitely the benefits of going to events is just seeing like opening your mind to the possibilities of just what you could do with your lash business, and like not staying small with that. So I think that's really awesome, that that was kind of what planted the seed for you. With your bio, you mentioned that your mission is to help others create a beautiful life through this industry. So what does that really mean to you? Like what does that look like for you? Something no one tells you is the better your business does, the more time it takes to run it. More appointments and more locations end up meaning more hours spent on scheduling, follow ups, and marketing instead of time with your clients and staff, let alone your friends and family. There's a better way where you can keep growing and get more time back. Gloss Genius is the intelligent system that handles more of the work for you scheduling, payments, staff management, marketing, and client follow up all automatically, working in the background to fill your calendar, grow your revenue, and keep clients coming back. 120,000 beauty and wellness businesses trust it to run their operations so they can focus on their vision. Ready to earn more and actually get your time back? Use code LashBiz at glossgenius.com for 50% off your first 2 months of their premium plans. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, I love that question because I feel like that's very easy to say, but the context behind it. So yeah, I was young, I didn't have a college degree, and I was thinking about my answer to that, and I realized like I've kind of been worried about money like my entire life. I've thought about it my entire life. I would ask my friends like who were graduated out of high school, like how much money should I save? Like, what are we doing? I was kind of just always thinking like, am I gonna have enough money? So I wasn't college bound. I didn't go, but I was like, well, you better have a good plan if you're gonna make this choice. So I was going to beauty school. I mean, originally I thought I was gonna do hair, did one of those programs in high school, and then I got into aesthetics. I realized at a young age that I could actually build kind of a life for myself with this. I didn't like I wasn't sure if I could or not, but once I realized like how much money I was making, I was kind of like, is this allowed? Like, is this okay? Am I like how am I making this much money? But once I figured that out, I've basically had no choice but to help other people get into it just because I would feel selfish to like keep it to myself. And it's literally one of my like the coolest things that I get to do is explain to other people who are interested to know how I am able to do the things that I do, like travel, live by myself. I think really big goals that in this economy are like very hard to attain. Like it shouldn't be as hard as it is to live without roommates or save up enough money for a down payment on a single family home. Like that's really really big and hard to do now. And if I have a little bit of a little secret that's not so secret because I will tell you if you ask me, I just want to help anybody get in and make that happen for themselves. I really think it's unfair how hard it is to achieve basic goals like buying a car or something like that. So that's what I really want to help people do. I'm not really selling a $1 million course. I am not a millionaire, but I want people to be able to own a car if they want to own a car.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, like, especially how the economy is right now, like, it's cool to see like solo lash artists achieving those goals and
Hmm.
being able to make that life for themselves. And that seems like what I'm hearing is that it's kind of like full circle for you too, because like you went to this event, were inspired by and like kind of poured into by other people, and now you're able to turn around and do that for others too.
Hmm.
And I think personally that's what makes the industry so beautiful, and like how it's going to keep growing is especially pouring into this new generation of lash artists. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show too, was because I see all your content with all your trainings and stuff, and it just, oh, you just look like you do such a good job, and like you're really achieving that mission that you have for yourself. So good
Thank you.
job.
That means a lot. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, the trainings are really
Yeah.
fun. I only do a training every other month, so I kind of try to conserve my energy for the students that I have because I am still a full-time lash
Yeah.
artist.
That's a
So
lot.
when I do, it's really cool that I get to pour into them as much as I do because I only do trainings every other month. Um, but yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
noticing.
That's awesome. Because, I mean, if you haven't trained before, if you're listening, you haven't trained before, like, I don't know, the energy, the amount of energy you pour into your students, like, I'm always like completely dead battery by the end of it. I don't know how
Mhm.
you feel with that, but
Yes, after my trainings, I do have to go home and just like be dead to the world for a while. Versus lashing, I feel
yeah,
like I could do 2 12-hour shifts in a row. That's what I always say when people ask me, like, how do you lash so much? I'm like, I could do 2 of these straight with no sleep. Like lashing is different. It doesn't require as much mental energy as like the
yeah,
supportive trainer does. But I also think like trainings are expensive. People are putting a lot on the line with spending time with you and spending money with
absolutely.
you. So it should definitely be the thing that you save a lot of energy for. So that's what I do.
Yeah. One, especially like find the right trainer who is putting that time and energy into their students. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So with that, can you walk us through? So we were talking about, how things are kind of hard in this economy right now. And then being able to like achieve goals like save for a down payment on a house or like buy a car or live by yourself or travel to events. Like you're literally recording this after in your hotel room after Lash Boss Summit.
Correct,
So
correct.
like that's pretty awesome. So with that, like obviously there has to be some type of like profitability within your business to be making the money to do all of these things and achieve these goals. So can you walk us through how to actually price services based on your desired income instead of just copying the market?
Yes. So this is something that I noticed. I mean, I think it's completely understandable when you start your own business to just look at what everybody's charging around you and kind of say, maybe I'll be $5 less, or maybe I'll just charge what everybody else charges and be okay because they seem to be okay. But what really bothered me about this approach before I was training, and just when people would ask me like, how do you do it? Like, I just would get that a lot, and I'm like, "I'm 22 years old with no children. That is how I do it." Like, I would feel really guilty when people would ask me that question. So, I was like, yeah, like what this feels unfair. What is not clicking? And I realized when people would ask me or just say those comments to me that what a person, a 22-year-old or a 20-year-old saving up for a Cabo trip needs to make at work, as opposed to a 35-year-old mom of three who can't work from home because her kids are there, has to rent a suite. Just two situations. What those two people need to make is wildly different, so those two people should not be forced to charge the same just due to like industry pressure. Their pricing might come out being about the same, just depending on what they're saving and stuff like that. But I just was like, obviously, like it's gonna be harder to budget your time in a way when you have a fuller schedule, like when you have kids and you want to be involved in their life. And I feel like a lot of women get into the beauty industry with that priority of being involved in their kid's life. So you can't really tell someone like, if you just work 7 days a week, you'll make 100,000 a year. Let's go, let's do it. That's not really the point. So when I teach my students about pricing, I like to talk to them specifically. I ask them before the class when they're filling out their forms, and then we talk about it during the class. But what tangible goal do they want lashing to help them reach? So I do want to know, like I tell them I want to get in your business as much as you want me to be in your business, but like, do you want a down payment on a house? Are you wanting to leave your job? Are you wanting to um make money on the side? Could you use an extra 1,000 a month? Do you want this to cover your car payment? Like that, I feel like you just need to know your reason for why you're getting into lashing and where your prices need to be. So once you have that number, then you can work backwards. I call it working backwards because I feel like a lot of people set their price lower than average or about average and then cross their fingers and hope that they make the same money that they're seeing these other girls making. So I would rather work backwards and know your tangible goal going into it, and then decide how many days are you gonna work? Are you gonna do evenings? Is it realistic to say you'll take a client every single day after a 9-hour workday? Not so much. So I talked to them about like, are you gonna want a few weekdays off? Are you gonna want one Saturday or one Sunday off? Or are you realistically going to work Saturday and Sunday when we make these plans? So they'll usually like sit and think about it and be like, well, yeah, I should probably have like Sunday off. And then, so we go based off their goals, and then how much they plan on working weekly, how much they'll need to bring in monthly, how much they'll need to bring in yearly, and then that will tell me where they should be for their fill prices and about where they should be for their full set prices. So sometimes, like, yeah, you can actually do a $90 full set for the and 45 $55 fills, and you'll hit your goal. Like, and sometimes we realize we're either going to need to plan on working more or plan on building our skill enough to charge a little bit more in order to realistically meet the goal that we're coming into lashing with. So that's what I consider my working backwards method when I'm helping my students set their prices.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that you like include that in the actual like lash license training itself because that I mean, I didn't learn any of that when I first learned lashes. So that I'm sure like really helps set them up for like a better foundation. Absolutely.
hmm Yeah, I try to keep it brief too when we do that. I do this while they're doing their fan practice. I'm doing
Okay.
all the math. I'm like a mad scientist off to the side figuring this out for them. And then we write it down, and I give them the paper to take, and I explain the numbers because I know that at the same time they are learning how to like the pinching method or something, how to make fans. So I try not to overwhelm my students with too much
Yeah.
information. And of course, they can always come back to me with the questions as it comes up once they're a month into lashing, 2 months, 6 months into lashing. Um, it would actually be like counterintuitive to throw all the information I know at them in their beginning training. So I try to
Yeah.
be aware of that when I'm doing this, but definitely I want them to go into it knowing about how much they should be charging ideally after their free models, and if this is really going to work for them in the way that they're planning it will or hoping it will.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. So, what kind of inspired you to include that? Were there like any pricing mistakes that you saw a lot of lash artists making, or what was your inspiration behind including that in your trainings?
So one of the things that really inspired me to include that was myself learning from people attending a lot of seminars, a lot of trainings, a lot of advanced just one-on-one trainings. Um, like I told you, I kind of have always been worried about money. So the first thing I need to know when I'm learning something new, whether that's introducing a new service to my menu or changing my schedule or adding on something like a salon suite or a supply store, I need to know the numbers and I need to know if I will be digging myself into a hole by doing this. So just that feeling of sometimes sitting in a seminar and being like, okay, I hear you, like positive mindset, like let's do it. I'm going to do it. But like, am I going 10,000 into debt for this or not? Let me know. Like, just that I just need to know the numbers. So, in the same way, when I bring in students, positive mindset, practice, 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 yes, all those things, but also like, is this going to work for you? Or are we finding out right now that maybe part-time lashing and working your full-time job and making an extra 4,000 a month, maybe all those things won't work. So what are we going to trim the fat on like our main job? Are we going to go part-time at our main job or like kind of just experimenting and plugging in numbers and figuring out like if this is going to work long term and how are we going to make it long term for the student?
Yeah, that's really cool because the logistics have to make sense
Yeah.
for sure.
Hmm.
And I don't feel like a lot of newer lash artists are not that they don't think about those things, but I don't feel like it's the first thing on their mind. Like, obviously, they're trying to learn lashes, but then it's like, okay, now what do I do? Like,
Hmm.
especially when they're solo. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the logistics side of things is definitely important. And even if you are already a lash artist, you're like listening and considering adding on, maybe a training or a lash supply store or, doing different ventures, like figuring out what those logistics and what those numbers look like. I feel like at least can help you make informed decisions on if it's something that you can go for right now. Because, yes, positive mindset, yes, practice, you do all the things, but at a certain point, like, the numbers have to make sense too,
Hmm.
because it is a business at the end of the day, and you have to make money through it. It's not just to make it a profitable business and not just an expensive hobby.
Yeah. And I feel like money just is like a dirty word or something to people. I never wanna be someone who strays away from it, but, literally, you can't run a business if you're not profitable. Like, if I'm losing money in lash supplies every time I'm doing my cousins' and my friends' lashes, and it's pulling me away from my full-time job that makes me money, like, I genuinely cannot do lashes anymore. So it's not just like, "I took a lash training, and now I'm gonna make 6 figures, and you're not, and you suck." It's like, I literally have to be profitable if I wanna do my business, or I will have to go apply for jobs elsewhere.
Yeah, I love that. And such a good perspective. Just for anyone listening, no matter like where you're at, is just figuring out what your numbers are, making sure you're pricing yourself correctly. And especially in an economy like this, like I've just talked to so many different lash artists and beauty business owners, even people who've been in the industry, like aesthetics industry and such for like 30 plus years. And they're like, we've never seen it be like this before. So it's just different. And that's not meant to like scare you or make you feel like fear or anything like that with running your business, but it's just like empower yourself with that knowledge, with the numbers, with the logistics, and make sure you're making like smart decisions with that. And I think that will help you hit those goals and like be successful with that.
Mhm.
And so another aspect of like, lash artists is like the social media side of things, where honestly, it feels like a full-time job for a lot of people. And a lot of lash artists and beauty professionals get really frustrated because, they're getting likes or comments or views, but they're not necessarily getting bookings What's your viewpoint on that? Can you break down like what you've seen with that and where lash artists might be going wrong?
Mhm. Yeah. So for me, like social media is pretty much like the most important thing to having a successful business. And I'm aware of how much that sucks to hear. I can't tell you another way, but I will say if you were to have a billboard in town, I've looked into the prices of billboards just to make this statement because this is how I view social media. When they advertise billboards to you, they'll give you a number like you'll get 35,000 impressions for $10,000 investment into this billboard or a certain monthly investment. And that's just like one example. But at the same time, with the mindset of like, oh, I could get 35,000 eyes on my business and couple $1,000 investment. So you could do the same thing with social media. You can get thousands and thousands of impressions. And it'll cost you $0 if you want to put your own work into it. And then there's all the hiring social media managers or marketing that larger corporations do. But I think for beauty businesses, it can be done on your own. And in my opinion, it should be done on your own because I've just benefited a lot from people seeing my face and having that connection of myself and lashes in their brain already. And I've done it intentionally. It's just like a guerrilla marketing strategy. Guerrilla marketing is an old school strategy that huge corporations use all the time where they just put their brand in your face constantly. So if huge corporations are still doing it, I think we should probably follow that and do the same. So how I see it is like I want people in my area to see my face very, very often, hear my name attached to the word lashes, hear my name attached to the word lash training as often as possible. That way, as soon as they think like, should I take a lash training? There's already one girl in their head, or I want my lashes done. There's already one girl in their head who they know does that because she won't shut up about it for some reason. So that's my goal is I want to be in their face about it all the time. So yeah, I know how hard social media is, and unfortunately, like you just have to do it. I think of it as so I'm gonna share like something kind of weird. I do talk to myself a lot. I have like conversations in my brain. So
No
when
judgment.
at
I all
first
the time, every day of my life.
when I didn't want to post on social media, I would tell myself this little mantra. I would be like, "Oh, I didn't know you were a millionaire." I would tell myself that, like, "Oh," like I'd be like, "I'm not worried about all that today. I had clients, like I'm not doing it." And I would tell myself, "Oh, I didn't know you were a millionaire." And I would say, "No, no, Valerie, I'm not a millionaire. I just really don't want to today." And I would be like, "Well, what makes you so good?" Like there's literally people, huge influencers, like if Alex Cooper has to promote her Call Her Daddy podcast that everybody know exists, why in the world would you not have to promote your business in Casa Grande, Arizona? Like, unless you're a millionaire, which apparently you are, because you're acting like you can't get online and promote yourself. And then I'll be like, no, thank you, coach. Thank you, coach. I will be doing that. So my little mantra to myself is just, oh, I didn't know you were a millionaire. And then right away, back on track and back on posting.
I actually really like that, and I might steal that because even as like someone like us, I mean, I manage people's social media pages, but like there's still days that I'm like, oh, I don't want to show up on mine now. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think that's really cool and just like a cue to get back on track. But I mean, one of the ways that I've heard people say is like social media is kind of like the new word of mouth. It's just like a way to get your name out there more. And like you said, it's like a free way too. Like you could get 35,000 impressions paying however many thousands of dollars on a billboard, or you could get that many impressions on social media for free. It's just a matter of like you're spending your time instead of your money
Hmm.
investing in the social media side of things.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of people struggle with, like, pride a little bit,
Mm.
which also feels like a dirty word to say, but I struggle with pride sometimes when not getting a lot of likes, especially beginner lash artists, or even starting off with a business. Let's say you opened up a new page for your salon, and now you're used to having this many followers, and your salon page only has 200, and you're like, "Oh, what nobody likes me." But, so for me, what I tell my students is like, all I really care about is if it converts to money. So like when you post your lash set, yeah, there might be 5 likes on it, but 2 of those likes might actually book, or they might be looking at your work, and then in a couple months they'll see a little bit more of your work and eventually be like, okay, like I know this girl, she seems nice, and go and book with you. So even if they're not liking, even if it's 5 likes, if it can convert to money because you're putting yourself out there and you're reminding people that you exist, I feel like you have to remind people that you exist because they might think you're cute, you're sweet, Valerie's funny, I like her curly hair, but in their day-to-day life, they're not going to be thinking about me at all. So I have to remind them that I exist every day when they open their Instagram. And I don't post every day, by the way. Probably like a couple times a week. But still, it's just that constant bringing it back like, "Hey, I'm still here. Hey, I'm still here. Okay, it's been a couple of days. I'm still right here." Link in bio, still able to book all those things. So yeah, as long as it converts into real life dollars, it doesn't matter how many likes you get. And I honestly have like that has really helped me now because even myself, like, I'll have posts not do as well, and I'll get that first sense of like, "Oh, like, I thought that was a really good post," or like, "I spent so much time on that post, like, what the heck? I spent an hour editing that post. I was on Canva, like, why is it not doing well? That's embarrassing." But then I'm like, "It's fine. You got yourself out there. People are reminded that you exist. It's okay. It doesn't matter." When they connect with the different posts, they'll like it. This one, they just were like, "Okay, I'm good on that. I'm gonna scroll." They get bombarded with so many things every day, the average viewer. So I also wanted to give perspective on the fact that you can have viral things, and I have had like some of my reels go viral, and it's a cool feeling. Like, oh wow, if people like it. But usually, if it's going viral and it's reaching people outside of your city or outside of your state, it's just because it's relatable in like a funny way or a emotional way and it tugs on the heartstrings or whatever, but that's not necessarily people who can spend money with you unless you have a brand that ships or you can do online services. But for the average beauty provider, it doesn't really matter if you get 20,000 likes if you can't see 20,000 people. um, so I would rather have a post like my training post that gets 50 likes, but actually converts into two students that made me $3,000, as opposed to a post that gets thousands of likes, 50,000 likes, 70,000 likes, um, and was just cute. I looked pretty that day. That doesn't actually convert to any money inside my bank account, but it does increase visibility on my account. So I can appreciate that and say like even the entertaining posts are not for nothing. I still make them just to keep myself in the circulation of people what they're seeing. But the viral posts don't necessarily convert to dollars in your bank account, which is my goal with owning a business.
Yep, I 1000% agree with literally every single word that just came out of your mouth.
Thank you.
Like the entertaining posts, all that, like the purpose of that is visibility in the algorithm. And then your sales posts or your service posts, your training posts, those are what actually typically convert at the higher rates of like people clicking to your profile, people clicking to your booking link, like actually booking appointments, booking trainings, all of that. And I think silent followers are a real thing. I can't tell
Hmm.
you like how many, I'm sure you've experienced it too, where people are like, "Oh yeah, I saw your post on social media." And you're like, "Wait, you didn't like it or you didn't
Hmm.
comment on it. Like you didn't interact with the post at all, but they knew exactly every single thing you said in that video or in that
Hmm.
caption." So it's like people are seeing your content, they're consuming that, whether they're booking right away or not. Like I view social media as like you're kind of planting these little seeds every time you post and like watering your seeds every time you post and like you show up on your stories and all of that. And like it's going to be different for everyone. Maybe they will book with you, maybe they won't, but like all those little efforts like compounded, that's in my viewpoint like what helps them like want to book with you, like whether that's now or 3 months from now or whatnot. Like you're building those relationships, those connections of people. And I mean, in my opinion, it's definitely paid off over time, and it sounds like it has for you as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. So, for any lash artists who want to grow beyond taking clients, like if they wanted to get into education or products, they kind of wanted to get another income stream going, what advice would you give them as like a solo lash artist getting started with a new venture?
Hmm. Yeah. So whenever I get this question, of course, it's kind of hard because I'm like, well, I don't know, like you're you and I'm me, and we grew up differently. But I will say, like, one tangible piece of advice that I would say for everybody, especially, I mean, yes, every business owner would be to get into therapy and have a very honest therapist who helps you get to know yourself. So when I was 19 years old, like I mentioned, that's when I was entering the adult world. That's when I went and worked at my first salon. I was in esthetician school, and I kind of realized this thing that I did not know how to look people in the eye. I had been working before then. I worked at Dairy Queen, but I guess I never really had to look people in the eye very much, especially older adults who were not teenagers my age. And I was very, very insecure. I got uncomfortable when people looked at my face, and I got uncomfortable looking people in the eye. And that kind of bothered me because I actually remember, just to use it a specific example, when I was looking at salon spaces, I was only 20 years old, and the guy, I brought my notes and I dressed professional, and I was meeting with this guy to see if I could rent out his building, and I could not look him in the eye. So he's like, like, he's been doing this for years. He's a business owner, and although I looked the part and I looked really professional, I probably also looked like a child because I was 20 years old. But I was like, in my head, I was like, Valerie, why are you not looking him in the eye? You're being weird, because he would make eye contact with me, and then I would like immediately look away and get so uncomfortable. So I was like, if I want to grow, like spoiler alert, he did not rent his building to me. But if I want to grow and I can't even look at people in the eye, where am I going to go? So I literally worked really hard on confidence, like intentionally, like every 2 week, hour long appointments, intentionally working on confidence. And that helped me. So I've realized now that I'm 25, how much that really, really did help me, because now it comes naturally. And now I'm like, I find myself giving that advice, like, just believe in yourself. And then I have to stop myself and say, like, no, you actually did something very intentional and made a very like big realization when you were younger about your lack of confidence, and did something about it. So I'm still in therapy literally every 2 weeks. I don't know when I won't be. I probably will be in it forever, but yeah, I've really worked on confidence in like a pretty, severe way.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm gonna not gonna lie, it was not an answer I was like expecting. Not because it was bad or anything, but like just that's typically not what you hear people say is like go to therapy. But I totally agree with that because that helped me so much. I didn't go to therapy for the first time till it was right before my third baby, so I was like maybe 26 or 27, so you got a way bigger head start on that than me. But like it's literally life-changing, and I feel like it just gives you like those skills to navigate through things, especially as a business owner. So I love that advice. I think it's definitely beneficial, especially if you have that self-awareness to know there are things that you can work on, like building your confidence or like healing from past things. That was a lot of what I had to work through because it was like, for me, it kind of got to a point where it's like, I don't feel like I can grow past where I'm at without like mending the stuff that's holding me back. So,
Mhm.
anyway, I think that's really solid advice because I personally feel like everyone can benefit from therapy too. So,
Yeah.
good for you. So, just to kind of wrap things up, what's one book or I guess any book, more than one book if you want. But what's a book recommendation that has impacted like your mindset, your business, your life that you would recommend someone to listen to or read?
So one thing that I would recommend is, I don't read a ton of books for a hobby, and I get books recommended to me all the time for like entrepreneurship, and I just don't connect with those things. I watched podcasts for years on end about entrepreneurship. So the books that I read are celebrity memoirs. I own way too many, and I already have a few pre-ordered before they've dropped. I really like celebrity memoirs. I mean, I guess it's just because they have such a odd lifestyle, and still like they're regular people that walk through it. So I'm interested in knowing like the beginnings and that kind of stuff. So the one that I learned a lot from and kind of got a lot of perspective on was RuPaul's House of Hidden Meetings. Dropped like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. When I read that one, I really liked it because, I mean, you can kind of guess, and I think service level. Let's have a podcast about RuPaul. Anyways, he mentions like coming from hard beginnings, but reading in his book, like literally having no money in his bank account to like fly home from a place and having to sleep on a bench. RuPaul, that was like, okay, like if he can do it, I can figure this out. And I mean, like being gay, being darker skinned, being mixed race, being flamboyant, being shy. He was also extremely shy. So that kind of resonated with me. Like, that's crazy. So I liked RuPaul's House of Hidden Meanings and just getting to know the mind of somebody who then built themselves up that much.
Yeah, that's really cool, and, like, just seeing how they started out, and I don't know, I feel like one thing I actually we can tie this together. One thing I learned in therapy is, like, you can look at celebrities or people that you look up to who have reached goals and kind of, like, embody some of what they like, the values and the standards and, like, the way that they live their life, so I think that's awesome. Great recommendation, and just to wrap things up, where can they find you online to connect with you at?
I am on Instagram at Val the Lash Gal, and I have a salon website called the dollhouseaz.com. And yeah, those are the main places. I would say my Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I don't have any other social medias just 'cause, I feel like Instagram is very manageable for me. So that's just it.
I love it. Awesome. So I'm going to put those links down in the show notes so you guys can go give her a follow if you don't already follow her on Instagram. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank
I really appreciate
you.
you.
Bye.